Welcome back to the eSports Report. Just got done with that interview with Apthy, one of the better guys in the COD community, FaZe Black. I think they're going to do pretty well going forward in Champs and then Season 2. And so let's talk about Season 2. It's going to be a relegation rules for Season 2. We're going to go over the entire format, its entirety again, so we can start with some of the important dates. We can bring those up. We can talk about those here. So February 9th and 10th, there's going to be an open qualifier for the Pro League relegation tournament. It's going to be held on GameBattles.com in a single elimination bracket format. Best of 3 games all the way up until the finals. The finals will be a best of 5. First place team will qualify for the relegation tournament. More on that tournament later when we keep talking further down the line. The eligibility, any North American player with pro point ranking status, any pro point ranking status can play in this, and it'll be 30 credits per player. That is one way for the open teams to qualify. Now, the second qualifier to get in, we can bring that one up, show you the dates for that one. That's going to be the 11th and 12th, and this is the pro qualifier for the Pro League relegation tournament. That's also going to be on Game Battles in a single elimination bracket. This one is going to be best of 5 games throughout the entire tournament, and the top 3 teams will qualify for the relegation tournament. The eligibility rules a little bit different here. North American players only. All teams must have at least one pro player. Assume that goes by pro points with no entry fee for that tournament. Then we can keep going further down. It's going to be the bottom 4 of the Pro League. We can talk about some of the rules regarding that, what these teams are going to be able to do. We'll go to relegation tournament. So it's going to be the 24th, 25th, and 26th. It's going to be a 3-day double elimination bracket tournament. Best of 5 games the entire time with the bottom 4 teams from the Season 1 Pro League. So 9 through 12 from the Pro League right now. Then it will be first place from that open qualifier and the top 3 from that second pro qualifier. Top 4 teams will be the teams that move on to play in Pro League Season number 2. Then we can go into some of the roster rules and the dates and times where all that stuff needs to be submitted in. These are going to be the roster rules for open and pro qualifying teams. Rosters must be complete on Game Battles in time for the start of the qualifiers and may not include any players who are on a Season 1 championship roster or relegation tournament roster. All players must be North American players, and the team that qualifies for the relegation tournament may not change. So if you qualify for that relegation tournament, that double elimination, that will be your roster. You cannot change at that point. All players who fail to qualify in relegation tournament become free agents at that point of elimination. So if you make it all the way until those final 8 teams and you lose, you instantly become a free agent at that point. Moving on, some of the other roster rules and dates. Bottom 4 of the Pro League. This is roster information for you. On the 7th, all subs become free agents. That is going to happen at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Then from 9 a.m. Eastern Time on the 7th until the 9th, we will be taking free agent submission requests, release requests, and join requests. That'll be a period that lasts for 2 days. February 9th, it's going to be 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Roster lock for the relegation tournament will happen. Incomplete rosters will lose their spot in the tournament and cannot include players who are on Season 1 championship rosters. All players who fail to qualify in relegation tournaments become free agents. We've talked about that before. And then on the 23rd to the 10th, that's a period for qualified players can file for free agency and be traded but not released. So they cannot be released from your team. They can either file for free agency or be traded. Substitutes can be added to the starting lineup 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time starting on the 23rd. Moving on with the roster rules and times and dates for all you beautiful people out there. On the 9th, Season 1 championship rosters must be submitted. This is for championship Season 1 teams. These are the top 8 from Season 1. 4 players who are on the team roster at the end of the regular season, obviously. On the 9th, all players that are not in Season 1 championship rosters. So the players you are not bringing to the Season 1 finals become free agents right at that point on the 9th. From the 23rd until the 10th, that's free agency request period, release request, and then the join request period. So that is going to last pretty good time. On the 23rd, substitutes can officially be added to the rosters. And then on the 10th, teams must have their 4 players, including their 2 subs who competed in the Season 1 championships. So that is some of the roster information just overall, whether it's pro or open teams going into this relegation tournament period. So a little bit different than last year. It's going to be an online format this time. Just makes it a little bit easier at this point. And then I think it's going to be a very nice tournament. It's going to run pretty much 3 days. The double elimination bracket will last, so that'll all be streamed here, I believe. I can I can pretty much guarantee you that. That'll be me, Puckett, and Ben going over a lot of those matches that they're very important. So puts a much larger emphasis on these league matches. You know, teams like Justice and Envy, they're sitting in the 7th and 8th seed, and Rise and AR, they don't want to play in that relegation tournament. You obviously want to keep your seed. And then also some of the other teams who are going to be looking to, make some transfers after the season 1 deadline. That'll be, an important period of time for them. So just wanted to explain that one more time. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit if there might be some roster changes pre-COD champs, and then also we're going to talk about tonight's league matches. So stay tuned, guys.